now for the Shop Report with
Barbershop Jay.
What up, sports fans? Welcome to the Shop Report special presentation of the Turnbuckle. Of course, I am your host, Double J, Production J, Creative Control J, more importantly. And of course, I am joined by my co-host who seems to take over, right? Like I get out of the car and he gets in one. None other than D Gully from the CEO Lumbus.
Oh, yes, D. Cody from the CO Bus. Like my tagline says here, don't buy any ripe bananas. Not going to be around long enough to eat them. Yeah, man, I had my famous Macho Man. That is hilarious. I stumbled upon that the other day, and it has not left me, and I have been annoying the heck out of my family with that one. Any of his promos that he cuts are just all time epic. You never know where they're going. They don't make sense, and right when they don't make any sense, they make the most sense. And I think, in essence, that's why on these socials and these medias, I go by what you mean, Gully, because I feel like I have an accidental ability to do the same thing at the point where it's just about to go all off the rails. I kind of bring it back together. So that's
Well,
my
you know
Macho
me
Man
too
MC for
well.
today. Yeah. Right.
So we have a ton to dive into. Of course, Raw itself is getting into its main event as we speak. And of course,
Yep.
next Monday, CM Punk returns. And so we'll dive into that here shortly. But of course, there was a ton that went on. The WWE crew went to the deep south. That means below the border, and that is in Mexico. And I always that's my little Nicky reference when he says he's from the deep south, for those that are unaware. And so without further ado, and actually, Golly, for the reference there, that CO Lumbus was actually a rock reference with Gold Dust and Booker T. And so without further ado, we have our first topic of the evening, which of course is none other than, speaking of Booker T, tell me you did not just say that. And it comes from none other than, I almost called him Mr. You know what, famous for that, but none other than Rikishi.
Okay.
And first, he's made headlines with me of late because I didn't realize how many kids this man had, because the bloodline runs deep. And I mean, it's like the Mississippi. And so Rikishi was on a podcast and he happened to say this. What is that we got to do to give Yeet a chance to finally, after 17 years plus, years, blood, sweat, and tears, he gave it to you all, everything, his mind, body, and soul. Wouldn't you think after all these years to finally crown him and make him earn it, because I'm paraphrasing that part, sure earned it. Crown him as an intercontinental champion or whatever other champion belt they got. And so, as it pertained to his loss, Rikishi goes on to say, that kind of hits a nerve with me. I'm not asking or saying to give this kid a free pass because of who he is and where he comes from, But I mean, again, I'm going to go back to the numbers. The numbers don't lie with Yeet. That merchandise that the Yeet Man has done so much for the company. The Yeet Man, he doesn't have a bad track record. The Yeet Man is not a liability. The Yeet Man shows up to work and does what he does. Gully, take it away from here. Are you digging what Rikishi's putting down?
For a large degree, yeah. You know what? He's made me think of the other. What makes a superstar, right? What makes a superstar? What makes a true talent in the WWE or in the wrestling business? And one of the things, or among the greatest assets, is your dependability. He doesn't really get hurt, and he doesn't have any personal issues that greatly affect his ability to be reliable and to deliver the best that he can. I think the worst aspect of him is his singles ability. And when I say worst, it's not like it's terrible, but if you say, all right, here are the boxes that he checks as a superstar, has a talent. He can be a face, he can be a heel. He's better as a face than he is a heel. Um, he does get crowd momentum, great. So he can largely swing a crowd. He cuts a decent promo. These are all the things that he does, great. And for that reason, I had to kind of soften my stance on how critical I've been of him as of late, to a degree. I softened my stance to a degree. He's a better talent, a superstar than I gave him credit for. And Rikishi, his dad, helped to illustrate that, because these are things that when you think about Jeff, you think about Matt Hardy, think about Jeff Hardy, think about others that have, you think about even CM Punk in his first run, or pretty much in his time in the big two or the big three, if you will. Some of the, there were certain detractions from his character or from his overall brand. Yeet has none of these detractions. So he should have an opportunity to sustain or create a legacy with a belt, with a title.
Look, I don't disagree with you, and I asked you in a previous week, and this is why I love what we're doing as a program, because again, timing is everything, and we really did dive into Yeet himself and where we thought, like, what was the missing link. And we bring up Mania quite frequently, so I do understand his point, though, that we've seen this with others. We've seen this with Bill Goldberg. And let me tell you about Bill Goldberg. He moved numbers as well, and they put a belt on that man. Fair or foul, it's just how it was, and we can reflect on that and see the bitterness that still exists because of that, and the path of destruction, literally, that lie in wake from those decisions by Eric Bischoff, who's been kind enough to comment on this program. It can be done. I mean, I will leave it as simple as that. I know he's been active today in today's Raw. And of course, we'll dive into that in a little bit here. But I don't know. I have mixed feelings myself that you're absolutely right. Being healthy, being able and willing. And then most importantly, right, we've talked about pops and not just reactions, but in the form of positive, but negatives, right? If you're a heel, you're supposed to get booed, but booed like we don't like you, not boo, we want you to go away. And
right.
we've experienced both of those. And
yes,
with this guy, though, in spite of his performance, we'll say in-ring performance. He hasn't since that match, which I don't know. One of these days, there's going to be some kind of reflection as to what went wrong there. Hopefully, it doesn't take as long as that freaking documentary that was still just. It was not for me. I don't know. I would say just don't even watch it. But
What's the documentary?
the one about the Rock and just that pay-per-view, and it was just. I don't know. It made him look bad, and that's what took so long because of an edit. And it's still, I don't know, kind of like the way that Michael Jordan in The Last Dance said, like, "Oh, now everybody's gonna hate me," type of thing. They should have went with that for that reason alone, because I mean, the people that didn't like Michael Jordan still don't like Michael Jordan today. That's because they're LeBron fans.
See, you know what? I'm very interested in what we were talking about in terms of Jey Uso, but you brought up something that it's just drawing my attention away, man. You saying that the Rock's that WrestleMania documentary didn't do him any favors?
That was what took so long for the second edit. They were supposed to release that months ago. And then it was like, oh, by the way, remember this? We're actually going to bring this thing back. And then what you find out along the way was that it was due to The Rock's own. He didn't like the way that it was cut, the way that it made him look. I don't.
Oh.
Dude, come on.
Yeah.
Him, of all people.
What do you mean, him of all people?
I just feel like his character, he already had a love me, hate me, I'm me.
Yeah.
But, again, or a love or hate, but you're going to respect type of thing.
Right.
Getting some additional fuel on that fire, I don't think would have done anything. Instead, it looks worse that it came out with a bad product.
Yeah, that you tried to polish it. Yeah. You got to be basically. If I understand what you're saying, he could have just lived with it and just been unapologetic.
Correct. I think he should have, and then gone into a little bit of, if necessary, damage control. Which again, Michael Jordan really didn't. People were more concerned about the Lucia with Michael Jordan than they were about anything that came out of his mouth. He did get more candid the lower that cup got. I mean, that was the only takeaway from that. Great. We got the best version of you in the truest of statements. I have no problem with that. I can live with that. So if that's what we would have gotten out of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who cares? You don't get to where you are being, the nice guy all the time.
Correct. And in some cases, yeah. Like who has remained the nice guy and gotten to the levels that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson? Think about it. In professional wrestling, name somebody who I give you one guy, maybe one guy. And you know who that is?
They're gonna say Dolph Ziggler.
No.
Okay.
No, because Dolph Ziggler didn't get to that stratosphere of being, like, let's say, carrying a company.
Okay.
Dusty Rhodes did. And I'm pretty certain they got some. There probably some guys out there, maybe in the nether areas, in the nether realm, that don't have, that have a less than kind interaction with them, or they may not think of them as highly as others. But largely, at some point, you're gonna, if you're in that stratosphere of success, if you are in that pantheon or that upper echelon of all-time greats in a business that are not only all-time great performers, but have really been company standard bearers, like Undertakers, Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair. I'm sorry, Undertaker might be that one guy.
I
going to
don't
be.
think so, dude. No way. Mark Calloway, you can tell, has ruffled a lot of feathers with guys, but that was because of the
You think so?
relationship absolutely. The relationship he had with Vince was one that he had that man's ear. And for that, his word went a long way. And
So
yes,
wait a minute. So all right. So see, we getting so far off, but this so interesting. Hold on. You mean to tell me that you believe that Mark Calloway was the Silver Surfer?
for all the reasons that you mentioned, right? That no one could have possibly gotten to that level of the stratosphere or above by being the nice guy, all entirely. And so just off that alone. And again, we've seen where he hated certain gimmicks or types of, just though he had a lot of creative control in certain things. And there were, again, he limited and didn't want to go along with certain aspects of things. Again, he may have been a little bit more subtle about it, but
Okay.
it's again, it's kind of like, I'm going to enter, I can't believe I'm doing this on the show, Wreck-It Ralph, right? They have all the bad guys in there in a room, and they're saying, I'm a bad guy, but that doesn't mean I'm a bad guy.
Got you.
And that would be Taker.
Okay.
And so, when you see, like, for example, on some of the Rivals and in that type of thing, he really did handle stuff in a manner that wouldn't have really been shady or anything along those lines that you would have been really upset about. But it certainly, if he didn't like it, he really didn't like it. And he was pretty, candid or at least blunt about it. So for that reason, I disagree with him. I would actually point out, with your Dusty Rhodes portion, that there were certain guys, man, that were just booked horribly that were better than that. And one that comes to mind, I'm trying to remember, Dusty Rhodes was one of them.
Okay.
That, again, non-WWE people, this is nothing new, right? That he didn't maybe use them the best. And so to your point, Dusty Rhodes probably would do it for me. And then, there were other guys, I'm trying to remember, he was like, well, I don't think it was the Taskmaster, but it may have been somebody else that when Triple H was eating crow, he lost to him. And his gimmick was just even worse. What was he, Gold something?
Wait a minute. When you talking about her, you talking about terrorizing? WCW terrorizing Triple H?
No, this is Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Triple H.
Oh.
And he loses to a dude that should have been booked better than that. I can tell you that right now.
Well,
and
was it in relation to the curtain call?
Yes.
Well, see, that might not fit here because the curtain call was certainly retaliatory. I'm saying the overall disposition. Like, look, when we talk about The Rock, like to bring it back to what we were saying, you don't get. It's very rare and it's extremely hard to do to become one of the all-time greats, to become a chapter in the story of professional wrestling without being a guy that at some point there are certain corners of like they don't really vibe with you. That overall you're more favorable than not, but there are some guys that got a bone to pick with you, and it may not necessarily be their jealousy. They may have a legitimate gripe with you.
Sure, but take a look at what Rob, commenting live, had to say. He said, not really a super top tier, but Rey Mysterio might be one of them.
Right. Okay. Now, see, I would put Rey. So Rey Mysterio and Dolph Ziggler, I think, would be closer to the same realm. But I can understand how he said that. is Rey Mysterio a gatekeeper, or is Rey Mysterio a gatekeeper of not, maybe not a gatekeeper. Let me not use too many words, but no, Rey Mysterio might be like The Rock. Like, if you tell the story of professional wrestling, there's a chapter called Arrival of The Rock and what he did for the business. If you tell the story of professional wrestling, there is going to be a chapter called The Cruiserweights and how they innovated it at a time, and how they innovated at a time where things were moving in that direction, but they accelerated the appeal and the intrigue of having lighter guys, more agile guys moving around. Rey Mysterio is going to be in that. Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, and many of the luchadors or the Japanese, the Japanese wrestlers from the Japanese leagues. So yeah, they they are chapters in the story of professional wrestling, and therefore to become that, at some point, if you're in a chapter, there's going to be some people that are going to take issues with how they're written, if you will. The
Speaking of
Rock has to know that. Go ahead.
And how they're written. Our next subject on this matter is none other than AEW's Bryan Danielson. And this is in reference to me. So I'm going to quote him here. Me and Kenny Omega. Unfortunately, we've only had the one match. When I came to AEW, I envisioned having the series of matches with Kenny. Instead, it's been Hangman. And I've learned firsthand how incredible he is. Hangman's the man. That dude's awesome.
Huh. Hangman.
Are you surprised by this, or do you agree?
Well, he's saying he haven't had the time to solidify his opinion about Omega. And in doing so, his view of Omega was probably a bit focused on his opinion of him, and there was no room for another perspective. And then here you go, he gets another perspective. So it doesn't really surprise me, but I do find it interesting that, until you gave him a look, until you had to work in this direction different from where until the path changed for you in such a way that you actually were able to enjoy the sights. You probably had a vision that it would be somewhere else, and I get him on that vision, because I think that's what everybody was expecting. Oh yeah,
well, I was too, right? That was his debut, if you recall, and obviously that was magic. If I can't, come up with any other verbiage,
right?
So from my end, yes, I get your point that he naturally has been busy, but there's been the rumblings, if you will, that he's going to end up returning to the other company. So if any of that is true, then I certainly hope we get some more of that before that day occurs.
Do you think John Cena is doing this? Here's what I mean. John Cena's retirement his impending retirement is generated quite amount of interest, right? And so,
okay,
here it is. Fans may have an opinion of him, but then his contemporaries have, I think, a different opinion of him, and in most cases have a respect for him. They want to get a chance to share that ring one more time with a guy, because he know he's about to make his last run. So John Cena versus Daniel Bryan.
Oh, But you think he would really leave the company just for that? I mean, I could understand. There's ways now, but I don't think, at least between those two, in its current state, that would occur. But it would have to be bigger than that for me. I at least certainly would hope so. I thought you were going to go somewhere in the neighborhood of CM Punk and Daniel Bryan again.
Oh, well, that can happen. Well, I mean, you think about it. Because see, Daniel Bryan said he don't got many years left.
Right. I mean, part of that, if you once upon a time had nothing to do with him and the decision-making process at all.
Right. So, with a new lease on your professional wrestling life, knowing that sensing that you have some control over it, before the sun sets, you might want to go spin the block a bit with guys that you have a great respect for. Like, how many matches did CM Punk and Daniel Bryan have in AEW?
Not enough.
All right.
That's what I mean. There's a number of ways that we could go with that. And speaking of number of ways and bringing things back that were old and making them new again.
Whoa, Halloween Havoc.
But in that jack-o'-lantern, you see NXT.
Yeah.
That was announced here that the Halloween Havoc will be returning. And, of course, with the NXT products to Hershey, Pennsylvania. Gully,
right?
What say you to this? We're not only seeing potentially a push, or we're shooting on NXT as a whole, but now in adopting former WCW type, PLEs.
Right.
What do you make of that?
It's I think it's a genius way to help advance NXT as a brand into being more of a sibling than a developmental territory.
So potentially I was right all along.
You were.
Imagine that.
You were. And I think moves like this is where they're going. Indicate that that's where they're going. It's like, well, why? Like, companies can own competing brands and still thrive. Like Hyundai, Kia, Chevy, Buick. Dr. Pepper, Coca-Cola. Well, that's a bottling issue depending on which territory you're in. But the point is, they are effectively, in one sense, competitors because they do the same thing. But in another sense, not so much, because the parent company, if you will, is presenting the product, and they can give it a different lens. And so NXT is being moved further, closer to a competing, a separate, distinct premium brand, and further from its developmental roots.
I don't disagree. And with that being said, we are going to separate ourselves for the moment with our first commercial break.
It's Kate Cunningham, you watching the Shop Report.
I'm Mami Diallo, and you watching the Shop Report.
It's Chris Murray, and you're watching the Shop Report.
Oh, you're Jay Knight, you're watching the Shop Report.
Max McKee, you're dropping in on the Shop Report.
Barbershop Jay, Quentin Hines, Super Bowl champion. I'm ready. Let's do it. I'm on.
Hi, I'm Mars Man. We're from Mercury Stadium, and you're watching the Shock Report.
Hey, I'm Billy Butler, and thank you for watching the Shop Report. Hey guys, I'm Les Norman, former Kansas City Royal, and you're watching the Shop Report.
Commander Brown, Detroit Rivers Mountain Training, and I'm watching the Shop Report.
Hey, this is Doug Flynn of the New York Mets. Well, a few other teams, of course, too. And you're watching the Shop Report.
I'm Matt Ramos, and you're watching the Shop Report.
How you doing? I'm Rajay Davis, and you're watching the Shop Report.
How you doing? This is Nelson Figueroa, former Major League pitcher with a lot of teams. You're about to listen to the Shop Report.
Our next segment is part of the last segment, which is tell me you didn't just say that. And really what it stems from was the Pat McAfee show. During his show this afternoon, a tape was delivered. Of course, it being a VHS, so it could only be from one particular group. And that is not Disney. And so inside, of course, the contents of that tape was none other than Eric Rowan. And so I'm going to read to you some of the captions of this. It goes, how have you been? His response, I'm not going to lie. These last few years have been very, very hard. You know, I used to have a family. We were unstoppable, inseparable, always had each other's neck. And one day, it's just the whole world changed. I lost a brother, the person in the world who believed in me more than anybody else. Just when I had thought everything was going fine again, my other brother is gone too. He then displays the sheep mask. How does that make you feel? It gives me hope. You know, when I was at my lowest and it reached out to me and pulled me out, and I accepted it. I knew I needed it. I got out, and now I have purpose in my life. This reminds me about beacon of hope. Who's going to miss me? I'm just Rowan. We missed you, Rowan. Obviously, this is about more than Bray. Because if you remember, he also lost his other teammate, if you will.
Right. Right. That shouldn't be. I think it's unfortunately easy to overlook, but then let them talk about it. Then you forget. Then you're reminded. If he's the last one left, that family was the three of them. And then eventually Braun, Braun is left. Braun was brand new. But when we were introduced to the Wyatt family, it was the three of those guys.
That's right.
And for him to be the last one left, it can give you pause. I mean, think about it as a let's dive in, let's work on it, right? As a work, let's go ahead,
dude. And that's my point here. Where there's truth to survivor's guilt.
Yes,
and in a real way, right? Like we're not just shooting on this as a fiction, and this isn't a cheap attempt to gain some kind of ratings or anything like that. I believe, again, I've poked at potentially this being slow, but the build itself being slow, and that at some point we needed to see them wrestle. I know we're going to get that, and we're going to get there as we discuss tonight's segment. But there's truth to his that if the others are fiction, his is fact for me, and it does make for incredible cinema. But
yeah,
I don't think, to me, just like Bo Dallas, I don't believe there was actual like that. If that's acting, then give him an Emmy, a Tony, whatever you want to give him.
right.
because
Right.
I think those are very real emotions for obviously very real events.
Yeah. Well, just imagine. All right. So let's say let's keep it aside the square circle. Let's keep it in the universe.
Okay.
Even if you keep it in the universe, the Wyatt family was destined for so much. The Wyatt family were because of their size. First of all, they were larger than life personalities. Plus, they really could go. Like, which of the three of them actually couldn't get down in the ring? Like, who was really bad? No, even if you had one was the best, who was really bad? Bray was the best. Bray was the best, but Luke and Eric are not very far behind. So when you think about what the Wyatt family represented in terms of a turning point in the generations of WWE, and when we when we would be thinking of them advancing and separating themselves, distancing distancing themselves from their origins. You don't want it to be like this because nobody he's gone, and then it it would be very cathartic to return to to where you began and go back into go back into that shell, go back into that persona, because in that persona you and your brothers are all here again,
Hmm.
and you are the Wyatt family. Uncle Howdy is too in his own way. But you are here to carry it on. You are here to be that the menace that you had started out being with your brothers. Now you are representative. You are representative of the original Wyatt family. And listen, inside of the square circle, inside of the WWE universe, let's not get it twisted. When I look at the Wyatt family, I don't think of Uncle Howdy Bo Dallas first. When I'm talking about inside of the universe, Rowan, Harper, Bray. That's the Wyatt family. That's the
Man.
original. That's like you get what I'm saying? He is that. So the fact that he's here, he is what he is. I think as much of a a foundational member of what the Wyatt Six represents. It ain't just Uncle Howdy Bo Dallas alone. It's this guy as well.
I couldn't agree more. And I'm intrigued by what's been going on with obviously this entire kind of segment and with this group. And naturally to this evening it finally took a turn that we're going to dive into here shortly, but just hearing that portion of it, it hits you in the feels because again I got to see Bray Wyatt live in a house show, so again far more intimate. um, when you're a part of the Fireflies, if you will, um, it is it hits closer to home, and of course all of us can absolutely relate to that. And something matter of fact, something that I can't relate to, however, but I think I can in a much more lighthearted sense. I
That's not
mentioned
lighthearted. That's not lighthearted. That's not lighthearted at all. I am so upset. I am so, I feel so bad for dude. Oh my gosh, man, because you think it's him. Like, does he, like, here's what I'm suggesting. How much creative control does he have over this? Is he really doing this to himself?
well, you know what? If he is, then our whole segment earlier needs to change.
What you mean?
Because that means he was clearly the nicest guy at the top.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
There's
But
no, I mean,
because
without a doubt in my mind, that because he is torturing himself.
right, like none of this fits. Like you are the American Nightmare. Clearly, a template has been set to be heels
Hey, this
that are
is a
heels.
nightmare, all right.
Right. This is not the nightmare that we. This is not the American Nightmare that I imagine. Right. There is a template that has been set whereby a heel can be a heel, but you still root for him. Like Stone Cold Steve Austin at one time was a heel, was a heel's heel, but you root for the bad guy, right? NWO Hogan was a heel's heel, but you still just enjoyed being out there. He still was charismatic. CM Punk, and this 430, was it 434 days as a WWE champion?
Something along
He
those
was a
lines.
He was a heel's heel, but you were able still, even the heel, even when, like I say, when you're looking at it and you're taking it for what it is, and when you buy into what you're being, when you buy into the story that's being told, when you suspend disbelief, whatever, when it's not case, when you just buy in, you still can see that he's very much a heel, and I hate him, I don't like him, I don't like him, I'm supposed to hate him, I don't like him, but I still can vibe with him. I still respect him, ultimately. The American Nightmare should be that. He should be a guy that is a heel, but that you still respect. And he can get done. AJ Styles, didn't he have a heel run as WWE champion? Yeah, he did.
He sure did.
Yeah, and it can still work. This is certainly something that Cody Rhodes is capable of doing. I don't understand what has been the narrative behind his booking. Why does Solo Sikoa have a title? Listen, everything that Rikishi said about his son, why does Solo have a title shot?
You don't think Solo's earned that at this point? He's pinned the man.
Absolutely not.
Hang on
Absolutely
a
not.
second. And this is what I was going to ask you, because you know what? You see it right there in my caption, sub-caption, I guess, below my title there.
Yeah.
Now, I am not the actual puppet master, but what if Solo has a puppet master? Has that came across your mind yet that is making him so deserving of this? And I believe it's none other than Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
That would be about I'm trying to make sense of it all.
I think right now what's going to occur, I'm shooting on this. SummerSlam, Cody, Solo. It's the return of Roman. But if you remember, Roman was deemed unworthy.
Oh, wait a minute.
By
Wait a minute. Wait. SummerSlam, Roman returns. Cost Cody the title, give it to Solo, and then Roman says, "Now, this is how you're supposed to help me. You couldn't do that. Let me show you how it's done. Now, I am the tribal chief because I show you how to get it done." Then in October, Roman gets that title right back. Leads up to John Cena's retirement. John Cena wins the belt for Roman, and Cody Rhodes gets some time to gather and recompose himself for the next eventual time as WWE Universal Champion.
So I'm gonna disagree a little bit here, and I'm going to say that it's not John Cena, but it's The Rock that goes against Roman. That we ultimately see bloodline, which is worthy of its own show.
Yeah, because that was the matchup that was trying to be force fed to us. Now at a point, now I can see that now because it's not interrupting a narrative. Maybe that was the whole point. don't put Cody Rhodes in a position where you're telling us one thing and doing another. Because clearly the way you booking them with chickens being in the ring as a result, you ain't got to worry about him not winning the title. It's okay. It can leave now.
Right. Now it's reached that point. And which leads into my next question, because obviously I'm shooting on that angle. Was this the worst title run ever?
Not it's one of them. It's like Kofi Kingston's run.
We've had short runs, David Arquette runs.
I'm not that don't count, bro. That'll never count. Ever.
It shouldn't, but it does.
All right.
Well, he went backstage and asked Booker T how many times he's won that belt.
Yeah. That's when he knew he blanked up. That's what he knew. That's how he knew. I love it though. I love the fact that David Arquette he had some sense.
Strangely,
Can
that it
you
was him
imagine?
of all people.
Right. Can you imagine you winning that? Like that's a dream come true for anybody. But that's just like me going to a house in Columbus and something happens and like I win a raffle to compete in a match. Is by hook or by crook, I end up universal champion. And I gotta walk to the back of the locker room and pass
Gosh.
AJ. Hey, even past Solo. I gotta walk past those guys on the way to my car.
I couldn't do
Yeah.
it, dude. I couldn't do it. But you know what? Remember, that was I don't even remember what was it. I know what you did last summer. I don't remember exactly how we got there, but
Man.
I mean, Officer Doofy wins the freaking title.
Right. Which, by the way, sidebar on a sidebar on a sidebar.
Right.
Scary Movie was actually an intelligently written film. That was actually a pretty decent plot twist.
I mean, we could totally table this thing for Saturday. And
on the level of Shaun of the Dead.
Interesting. Well, I never thought about it in that context.
Smartly written parody movies.
Those shout out to my guy from the second one as well. I know he's not in doing that well, in too good a shape there, and I've enjoyed him personally in films. The one it's College Experiment, that guy, the one who was overseeing the project in Scary Movie 2.
You talking about Chris Elliott?
Yeah, I believe. No, isn't that that was the guy? That was the strong hand guy, I thought.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. Who are you talking about?
I'm talking about like the he was also in Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. He was one of the not the bellhop, not Rob Schneider. But
oh yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Welcome to the Plaza Hotel.
Oh man. Oh yeah. Right. Because people been getting their tickets. Yeah, a few people got their tickets.
Chicago, though. Here we go.
The Plaza Hotel. All right, man. My bad. I got it so excited.
Back to rubber chickens and
I don't want because I want to leave. I want to leave. This is not what. When we listen, I told you shouldn't have been caught finishing the story. But this is what happens when you finish the story at WrestleMania.
Dude, why at Crown Jewel did they not give him that belt versus Logan Paul? Now we're shooting on LA Knight. We're shooting on Solo Sikoa. Again, look at what SummerSlam is all about right now. I mean, we broke down the card previously, And your mid cards look really good, but your main event looks really bad.
So it's Solo and Cody in the main event.
They probably won't be, but to my point, rather, hang on a second. We'll 180 this thing real quick, and I'm going to celebrate this once again because now, thanks to Cody Rhodes, thank you, Cody. I don't know if maybe Brandy's watched or something, and thanks to her brother. But if you didn't know, obviously went to school with all those guys. So maybe it's adding validity to those other unworthy belts, as Gully, my co-host, would.
Man, you ain't about to listen. Stress on the phone ain't got enough elastic for what you try to do. No. You ain't about to. No. Ain't no way. Ain't no way.
Okay, so Mexico calls Dominic Mysterio Peso Ploma, and we get rubber chickens for champions. Can I just say we need more international shows?
Yeah.
Because they don't hold back. Take notes. The Copa America also showed us, what the international audience can do. Woo, by hook or by crook, as Barbershop Jail said.
Right.
Man. And but with Cody, this title run for me,
it's unbelievably incongruent.
It's bad, dude. It's I feel bad. Like I do not want to pick on this guy because he's too good of a guy, and at the same time,
he's capable of. Look, this is what I'm saying. It's not simply because he's too good of a guy. He's capable of more. Like, understand this. This is my feeling about Cody Rhodes. He hated Stardust. I loved it.
You did?
But because he has a talent as a wrestler, he to me he pulled it off. I know he hated it, but what I'm saying is his ability shined through, and I can see why Stardust is the reason why he left, so that way he can be more true and honest to himself and more effective. But that's what I'm saying. That's why I know how capable he is. I don't understand this title run at all. I don't understand why the bloodline is even able to compete or be within vicinity of the Universal Championship at this point. It doesn't make sense to me.
I think I disagree. I think Solo's earned it at this point. I'm shooting on Solo now.
Name Solo's 5 best matches.
I won't do that. But I will say,
I know you won't. I know you absolutely won't. I know you won't. I know you absolutely won't name his 5 matches. Name his 3.
Well, you know what? I think they're coming.
Name his 3.
I think they're coming. The first.
No. They ain't coming. They gotta already have been here. Name them.
Well, I would just name one, and that's enough for me, which is him pinning clean. Maybe not clean, but he pinned Cody Rhodes.
If you was going to listen, you should have told me if we was going to work on this. If you're working this, then you worked a masterful job, because I'm about to shoot something. All right, listen here.
That's what I do. That's what I do. I am going to. When you think I'm going left, I go right.
Come on, man. That pinfall legitimizes nothing for me.
Well, Randy Orton has once again reiterated that he will always have Cody's back.
Yes, he will. Maybe Randy Orton, by having this back, will stab him in it, take the title, and then have a meaningful run with it. Because I'll tell you one thing for sure. I don't think Randy Orton's going to do the job to Solo.
I feel terrible in this moment because I'm looking at this and saying, okay, the return of Roman is imminent.
Yes.
It's here. It's coming.
Yes.
I've seen the social media stuff. He's in the gym. He's getting ready. So does his cousin walk away with this thing? I don't know. But if he doesn't, then Cody is not put out of his misery, because it felt like, look, we're going to give this thing to you. And then if we're going to, you are subjected to whatever humiliation we so please. And he agreed to it. That's the only way I could see this actually somehow occurring, because it's been that bad for me where I literally, the original question was, is this the worst title run ever? And again, I'm not talking about like duration necessarily. That would be a part of it.
Okay.
But we've seen, guys that like Brock Lesnar that could go on a run and not wrestle whatsoever. That wouldn't even fall into this criteria. We've seen guys like Roman. They don't get pinned in X amount of time. They may not win clean in X amount of time. And they may even lose, but by disqualification or some stipulation that allows them to retain. This, on the other hand, is just pure. It is the nightmare. It is an American nightmare.
Yeah.
In the absolute worst kind of way. And
Right.
he, to me, should have more creative control at this stage of his career. And I really struggle to buy in or just to shoot on him really being okay with this. That, to me, I don't believe retirement is in his future necessarily.
Right.
But at the same time, I thought he was going to not only hold the belt but then go and really, complete it with the U.S. Championship as well against ideally LA Knight.
Okay. So here's a question for you.
Sure.
Who has Cody elevated in the ring?
Solo Sikoa. And you tell me how he hasn't.
My mama said a hard head make it soft.
Look, it's true, because if it were not true, there is no plausible way he is in this position. The only way it can occur, remember, he was on he in his own right was absolutely on a pathway of destruction by way of his record. He just was winless in an enormous amount of time. He has since created a positive win streak and a path of destruction in tail. And along the way, he pinned the champion. Not sure if you can see that comment there. Miss Salva weighs in saying, Gully with Mama says, sounding like Waterboy.
Yep. You know what? Vicky Valancourt, okay? That's all I gotta say.
Oh, we should cut the commercial break. Shop. No problem with that on my end either.
All right.
So, yeah, lastly for me with Cody, again, if he were to, let me ask you this. If he were to drop the title.
Yep.
At SummerSlam, again, we'll call it interference. So maybe not clean. Okay. Which if Solo beat him clean, I'll give you both scenarios, right? Roman shows up, it distracts him, he gets pinned. Or alternative is he gets pinned clean, then Roman shows up. You tell me which outcome of those two scenarios would be worse, and what, now that we would be able to cap his title run, would it change your opinion on where this ranks as one of the worst all time?
Number A. I would choose option number A for a dirty pinfall to relieve Cody Rhodes of the Universal title. Like I said a short time ago, I felt like that would be a uh, great direction to go, a compelling direction to go, to have Roman interfere and then has a point of contention to help to understand. Listen, when I say help, or you need to understand what the assignment is. The assignment is the bloodline walks in as champion and the bloodline walks out as champion. You need to make sure you get it done. Clearly, you didn't do that, so I have to show you how it's done. And since I have to show you how it's done, I need to show you how to carry a belt. And so I'm gonna challenge you for that.
Interesting.
And that's how you get it done. If you have Cody Rhodes lose a clean pinfall to Solo Sikoa, you can forget about Cody Rhodes ever sniffing that title for as long as he remains active.
And that's the thing. I really do believe, I think this is it for him. I think after this, you will see him in your mid cards, attaining and closing the having that aforementioned metaphorical the end on his career.
So you're suggesting that then? Would you suggest then that the Miz had a better title run?
100%. Absolutely.
Really?
There's not no. That was an immediate yes. This has been just treacherous, painful. This is David Arquette had a better title run.
Whoa, listen, man.
Who has Cody beaten? Like, when we think of Triple H, right? Or Roman. We'll just use Roman. Just the guy he took it from. And you look at who he beat. I told you, it was enough to be a WWE Hall of Famer today. Done. He could have walked away. Now, I know he's got an $11 million house or something like that in gated community in Tampa. So, probably wants to stick around a little while longer. But there's a list there. In Cody's case, yes, there's longevity. And yeah, there were good wins, quality wins along the way. But in terms of this particular title run, other than him having it, I think right now you will have to go through the record books and then reevaluate and find a additional 4 that it could truly compete with, again, and not just duration, but also quality. And in terms of who you even suggested, who he elevated.
Yeah, man.
Go for it.
I just still find myself going back to the point of, this is not the story that anybody is interested in.
Look at this image.
Yeah, it's painful. It's painful to watch.
Mick Foley got 500,000 plus to switch the channel to watch a pre-recording of him become the champion. And our current champion has rubber chickens. Do you blame, how much of this is on Triple H?
A great deal of it because he's the head of creative.
Is this Vince?
Nah. I mean, this is the most Vince-like title run I ever seen. Vince didn't even do this to himself.
This is my you okay? You okay?
Oh,
I've said David Arquette's name more than I think I have in my lifetime.
right.
In an hour and 5 minutes of this show.
Yeah.
And I'm saying it in a positive way as it pertains to pro wrestling, which I couldn't, if you would have asked me prior, a month ago, or maybe a few months back, could I have done that? The answer, absolutely not.
Right.
I can't believe I'm here right now, like echoing these words. I'm hearing myself, and it's nearly paralyzed me. This is. I'm going to leave it at that. I'll let you kind of close this thing out, and we'll go into our next break. I'm shook. I am honestly shook. Your final thoughts.
I hope before the sunset of his title run arrives that he does have a match worthy of the work ethic he's put in building that brand. That's all I got, man. I just yeah, I don't even know what to say. Like Jay-Z album, man. What more can I say?
And with that, we turn our attention to our sponsors. Stop flagging my stuff, man. It was royalty free.
I'm Jordan Gudeman, and I'm the founder and CEO of Eddie G's Cookies. I was first diagnosed with a nut allergy when I was young. At the time, there weren't a lot of labeled items that said if there may contain nuts or there are nuts in the food, so my brother and sister and I baked a lot at home, and we enjoyed treats from mixes and things like that, but I noticed that it was not the same as what my friends were enjoying, and I started making up my own recipes. When it was time to pick a career, I decided to start a bakery so I could share my treats with everybody else. When I started creating my recipe, I was taking in all the things that I thought I was missing out on. A soft, chewy center, a crisp outside crust, and a taste that is just like it came out of the oven at a bakery. When I put all those things together, I'd come up with a recipe for a dream cookie. Eddie G's Cookies only uses the finest ingredients. We have all natural flavorings, no preservatives, and every cookie is made in a nut-free environment. The best part about Eddie G's Cookies is that they can be delivered right to your door. You can share them or not. We won't tell.
That's right. We are back. And matter of fact, our co-host, matter of fact, actually, who you just saw, shout out to Eddie G's. Of course, you can get those preservative-free, gluten-free, plant-based, peanut, tree nut-free, basically good for schools, school safe, and of course, made to order, most importantly. So those are shipped directly to your door. They are on Amazon now as well for gift boxes and that type of thing, or order direct from the site and save. But who you saw in that video, believe it or not, will be at the Olympics here in Paris. And of course, the next set will end up here in the United States as well. But actually, it was really interesting to me about not your traditional gymnastics, but rhythmic gymnastics and potentially some hierarchy, oversight, corruption potential. So keep an eye out for that. But as it pertains to rhythmic gymnastics, we've heard the possibility of professional wrestling. Now, obviously, if you know me, you saw Matt Ramos do that drop. I, of course, am a honorable mention wrestler and nothing more than that at best. And the real wrestlers in college, of course, go to the traditional Greco-Roman, but pro wrestling has been considered being added to the card. Of course, we have breakdancing as our last show kind of went through all of those different options. But Gully, if you were in charge of the Olympic Committee looking at different things that could be added, do you like the idea of pro wrestling? And if you were to shoot on that, how would you go about judging it?
So, understanding what professional wrestling is, if we were to make it an Olympic sport, then it would have to be comparable to what we see outside of the Olympics. So, we understand that professional wrestling is, if you will, scripted or choreographed or thought out. Professional wrestling in the Olympics shouldn't be different. So because of that, then you would have to be able to put together matches, much like you put together matches that we see on the house shows or the live shows or the premium live events. That being said, if you'd have, let's say, Team USA, you would put a match, let's say, Cody Rhodes versus AEW's champs, right? Representing Team USA, representing America in the international stage, put together a match, much like you would have even the figure skating competitions, the synchronized swimming competitions. What story do they tell, and how effective are they at doing it compared to the other countries? Many countries have professional wrestling. Many countries have a style of professional wrestling that I would imagine is not mainstream. Here at the Olympics, you could showcase that in a competitive nature, in a competitive means, to be able to bring more general exposure to your region or to your style, and that it can be judged, and people can get a chance to look at professional wrestling in a lens that they may be able to appreciate differently than they do Monday through Saturday or Monday through Sunday.
It certainly isn't. It intrigues me quite a bit, and I almost wonder, like, something that somewhat struck a chord with me when it came to, because I've been on record of saying I'm actually pretty good as a judge of multiple events, but with this, in a way that we've seen in the past with Vince having or favoring larger than life athletes and versus their luchador I guess counterparts, versus that hard style that you used to see in the New Japan side of things. It would really intrigue me to look and see what the official scoring would be geared towards, because
Right.
all of those are vastly different styles. I told you I was having that discussion about rhythmic gymnastics in this year's one of this year's participants for the United States does a more traditional style versus a new style that seems to be what they're looking for. And that to me really kind of speaks volumes to this particular topic, because which one would you favor?
If you're asking me which style will I guess it's a case of, I would love to see the acrobats. Like, I think Mexico and Japan would be the front runners for Olympic gold,
Wow.
right? because of the athleticism and and the acrobatics, right? But then if you ask me, an ideal Olympian would be CM Punk and AJ Styles representing USA in a match.
It's interesting you say that, because this is one of those things that, to me, I bring this up with soccer, right, regularly, that I saw an article that the ownership group of Toronto in Canada, of course, Toronto FC, have done a fantastic job of raking in money. However, there's something called the Canadian Cup with the Canadian Premier League teams. Of course, Toronto FC is a part of the MLS, and they lost. And we have a cup here in the United States that is of course open to the other teams within USL, NISA, etc. And well, as you can imagine, the MLS teams have also lost to, according to them, lesser than opponents. So this would naturally be opened up to independents. Again, I bring up Megan's uncle in Jellicoe, Tennessee, with his promotion, and countless others that are still out there to this day. And being able to have those qualifiers and not have them limited to, we'll call it the TNA, AEW, those household names. Could you see someone that, you brought up Jinder Mahal in the past?
Yep.
I've brought up Veer Mahan shortly after.
Yes, which is what you do weekly.
And I'm playing.
You need to go sit on
my
somebody's
part.
couch, right? You need to go sit on somebody's couch and talk about it, bro.
And interestingly enough to me is, just because they're not John Cena or The Rock with charisma and the ability to sell,
Okay.
naturally those guys, Hogan as well, Creative Control Hogan, have also known to struggle with their in-ring ability, which is a part of this also, and would be likely a large part of how you would judge this. So would you be okay with not only the participation in qualifiers, but
Okay.
this is my fear, and this is how I'm directly relating this to current, from what I understand, current pulse of rhythmic gymnastics in this country. And I'm sure it's not limited to that, but favoritism to those household names.
Okay.
But would you be okay with, again, qualifiers, if the US could only send, we'll say 2, right? And maybe have 2 alternates. If they had sent someone that was not affiliated with those 3 promotions, would you have an issue with that?
If they were unfamiliar with those 3 promotions,
Yeah, unaffiliated.
unaffiliated, no, I wouldn't have a opinion. I know that's where it can get dicey, for sure. But in the spirit of, let's say, having having a system of judges where you're not looking over the court over at a guy, you don't have bias there. I think it makes sense to have judges that are unassociated with a brand, but they are fans of wrestling itself.
And that's the interesting part for me, is I would be in fear of it being literally 3 guys that have direct ties to those 3 brands, and that you end up with some combination of that, and it ends up feeling very, very biased and that you're not really sending your best. You're sending it becomes a Derek White situation where you would look at this and say Nike stock is down. So the best thing we could do right now is not add Jaylen Brown, but instead add another Nike athlete and Derek White.
Yeah. All in all, though, I think if you're talking about you being able to showcase your best, I think you would still end up getting your best talent and actively going for your best talent.
I'm going to ask you because I brought up Hogan, I brought up Cena and some others. How much, if at all, would Mike work?
Oh, yeah, that's all got to be a part of it, right?
Again, this is all we're shooting on just this concept. So to me,
yeah, we'd have to build the framework, right? Does Mike work help? Well, what can
or
you
is
say?
it purely here they come? You know, it just bell rings and it's these two, and you have to sell it in some combination or something along the lines of a kind of Iron Man match of just purely off duration.
Oh,
I'm throwing those out there. I'm kind of spitballing with things
yeah.
that would allow for some consistency. This
Okay,
is your event in your world. I'm just living in it.
So you've got well, see, here's the thing. Here's what we got, right? Talking about it being a competition. Speed championship.
That's a perfect example. Absolutely.
It's an ideal example because it's a microcosm of the action. It's fast enough to be refreshing, and and that time is enough to actually see what looks largely like a complete, satisfying story. The beginning, middle, end, and a finish, and it's great. If you keep it to like 3 to 5 minutes, and each competitor has to cut a promo, you evaluate the promo.
This is starting to sound like NXT.
Well, NXT is starting to sound like the Olympics. How about that? Yeah, I think it can work.
I do too, right? We're getting Halloween Havoc now with NXT.
Yes.
We have a speed champion. The framework is really there. To be able to do it in like you said, in a very brief yet thorough. Again, you can have some kind of vignette even. I mean, you could really line up all three of these. Like, let the vignette could then lead to them cutting their own promos in ring, and then actually leading to a match itself. I mean, like you said, it would be a full story in a shorts type of way, and you would still be able to then. Now, here's the thing, though, right? We've been very critical of people with botching, and I could easily see that occurring in some way, shape, or form. And my goodness, I think this would be more pressure than Mania.
It would because you have the whole world stage watching you, and you've got and then because it's on the Olympics and it's at a time where people are watching the Olympics, you have more cynics and negative naysayers that you can convince, so you can turn around. But that job is you have to handle that. So it's a much more I think it can be a much more intense exercise for each wrestler.
Could you imagine you're in an Olympic stadium, right? And I just brought up our international audience. Getting a what, or in France, singing a song during this occurring. And so, simply put, it gives us a lot to chew on. And
Yeah, it does.
we're going to then now dive into, I'll get your final thoughts on this, and then we'll dive into tonight's Raw before we head out for the evening.
Okay. Yeah. Overall, man, I just think it would be actually pretty interesting to give it a try.
I agree.
To give it a try, to give professional wrestling a try at appealing to the masses. And then from that they can learn what actually works or not. So it may lead to some usable data for the rest of the world to go in and implement based off the trends that they see, implement the trends that are happening in the different parts of the world to make a better product. But I think it can be done.
Totally agree. And with that being said, we're going to take our next commercial break. We'll see you back in 105.
It's Kate Cunningham, and you watching the Shop Report.
I'm Mami Diallo, and you watching the Shop Report.
My name's Chris Murray, and you're watching the Shop Report.
Oh, you're Jay Knight, you're watching the Shop Report.
It's Bryson Key, you're dropping in on the Shop Report.
Barbershop Jay, Quentin Hines, Super Bowl champion. I'm ready. Let's do it. I'm on.
Hi, I'm Mars Man, works at Mercury Stadium, and you're watching the Shock Report.
Hey, I'm Billy Butler, and thank you for watching the Shop Report. Hey guys, I'm Les Norman, former Kansas City Royal, and you're watching the Shop Report.
Commander Brown, Detroit Rivers Mountain Training, and I'm watching the Shop Report.
Hey, this is Doug Flynn of the New York Mets. Well, a few other teams, of course, too. And you're watching the Shop Report.
I'm Matt Ramos, and you're watching the Shop Report.
How you doing? I'm Rajay Davis, and you're watching the Shop Report.
How you doing? This is Nelson Figueroa, former Major League pitcher with a lot of teams. You're about to listen to the Shop Report.
What it do, sports fans? It's your man BSJ from the Shop Report. And guess what? The shop is now open for business, baby. If you're on Facebook, go to our fan page, The Shop Report, click on More, and then Shop to view all products. Or if you're on Instagram, click on the Shop tab to see all our products. I mean, what you want me to do? I'm selling merch here.
I'm Jordan Gudeman, and I'm the founder and CEO of Eddie G's Cookies. I was first diagnosed with a nut allergy when I was young. At the time, there weren't a lot of labeled items that said if there may contain nuts or there are nuts in the food, so my brother and sister and I baked a lot at home, and we enjoyed treats from mixes and things like that, but I noticed that it was not the same as what my friends were enjoying, and I started making up my own recipes. When it was time to pick a career, I decided to start a bakery so I could share my treats with everybody else. When I started creating my recipe, I was taking in all the things that I thought I was missing out on. A soft, chewy center, a crisp outside crust, and a taste that is just like it came out of the oven at a bakery. When I put all those things together, I'd come up with a recipe for a dream cookie. Eddie G's Cookies only uses the finest ingredients. We have all natural flavorings, no preservatives, and every cookie is made in a nut-free environment. The best part about Eddie G's Cookies is that they can be delivered right to your door. You can share them or not. We won't tell.
All right. And just like that, we are back in better than ever. And we have, of course, our next guest on the show, and that is none other than Mrs. A herself. And we are going to be talking about tonight's Monday Night Raw. So, first and foremost, welcome as always. And to kick off tonight's Raw, Mami is back. And of course, we got a taste of that just a few short days ago. But when she and Dominic were having a little public unkumbaya, if you will, none other than Liv Morgan jumped on. And of course, what we're going to see is Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan for the Women's World Championship being set for SummerSlam. And of course, with the rubber chickens that we brought up a little earlier with Cody in Mexico, Liv had this to say: "Sorry about the voice. I had a long weekend in Mexico, and I've always been known to be quite the screamer." What say you to that?
Well, this is a family show. Correct?
Yes, and occasionally it is also the shop report after the dark, but we're going to stick with the.
I mean, we are after dark, aren't we?
That is true, but for all intents and purposes, you're right. It is a family show, but so was that.
You know, I don't really like Mami, as we all know, and we all know that I enjoy Liv, so I thoroughly enjoyed watching that part, especially because of the whole dynamic of Liv and Dominic. And I can't stand Dominic, and I think Mami turned Dominic into whatever he is. So I thoroughly enjoyed it.
What's interesting to me is if we were going to shoot on this angle, and I've said that the Judgment Day is going to potentially take a different form as it existed previously, it will be no more. That the faction itself is destined for change. What we're seeing right now with a combination of certainly Damian Priest, who's clearly becoming a face again, rather than, and I think he makes a much better face than a heel. But as it pertains to Liv and Mami, I do believe that we're going to see a change here. And we welcome Gully back as well. And Gully, just to reiterate the topic here, currently, it was, we just had Cody's segment with him in Mexico, and earlier in this evening's Raw, when Dominic and Mami were trying to patch things up publicly, Liv did interrupt and said, "Sorry about the voice. I had a long weekend in Mexico, and I've always been known to be quite the screamer." I'll ask you, what you say to that?
This is 5 months prior, 5 months shy of Raw on Netflix. Ooh wee.
So
well.
We're set now. It is locked in for Liv and Rhea for the Women's World Championship at SummerSlam.
Yeah, you think? I don't know if Rhea's walking away with that though.
But is she going to? Do you agree that regardless of first of all, Liv's became a star from this? I will not. Her light arguably could not be brighter.
Right.
But the Judgment Day as a faction is set for it's going to look a lot differently here very soon.
When can it blow up? Can it please?
I don't think it's going to me, this is like, I don't know, almost like it's going to kind of be like water in my best
Bruce Lee? Really? B. Walter?
because of course water can be, solid.
So tell me, what kind of water we talking about here?
We're gonna go alkaline.
Yeah, I bet
And
pH balance, huh?
absolutely.
Yeah,
And
all right.
pH balance.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
the shop report after dark.
Yeah.
I love it.
And family program. And so how we're destined here, but I'm going to ask you guys, can you shoot on this? Can we see, can this work? Can a Judgment Day that's led by Finn with Liv and JD and Dom be successful?
No, not at all. It has no purpose.
I don't think Dom can do something like be a leader in a way, if that makes sense. And I feel like if he did something like that, he would have to lead it. And I just don't see him leading. Sure, think about it, with the whole Rhea, Mami, whatever, and Liv Morgan, both the females have taken him by his cojones. There we go. That's the word.
Cojones. Yeah, we can call it that too. Add that to the shop report lexicon. Cojones. Right? Cojones. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, Dom is a title belt that walks on its own. Just like Liv has that title around her shoulder, Rhea has right now Dom virtually around hers.
It's interesting you say that, because I actually had some flashbacks and vibes, and I wanted to see if you got this too. Potentially a little father like son.
Yes, that was, I think, intentional.
Intentional? Again?
Yeah, that was like an homage.
I see. I think Liv will, again, in closing with this, for me, I think Liv will retain, but it's going to be Dom that ultimately costs Rhea the match, and just ultimately it's diarrhea from there.
Because he's still smelling his fingers and not washing them.
Especially with Liv.
Right. You know what it's like. You know, come on, man. Hey, listen. That's exactly what's happening right now. Young man he don't realize what's happening. And I think that's the story that they're telling. He's amused. He's amused, but he is amused.
I love that you call him a young man. You sound like you need your AARP card over there.
All right, let me ask you a question. How old is he?
Dom?
Yeah.
I mean, he ain't old, but the way you word it.
because if you've done enough of stuff you shouldn't have, and you've seen where this goes, you know where he at. This is all. Listen, he's at Cedar Point right now. He don't realize the park is gonna close. It ain't open year round.
Oh my!
He has Cedar Point with the fast pass. Okay.
Oh my!
No, I bet
he got the little band. He get the drink tickets. Right. That's what it is. Is he don't get what's happening.
I bet he's got water everywhere too.
pH balanced.
Oh. Well, as the show progressed,
look, even Damian Priest knows.
Backstage, Dominic tried to apologize, but she didn't want to hear him. She enters the locker room. She sees that bouquet of flowers that he left for her, and ultimately slams the door in his face. Then, of course, Damian Priest arrives and asks Dom if everything's okay with him and Rhea. He, of course, says it's fine. And then she opens the door and, of course, gives him a bouquet of flowers in return.
So help me out, because I forgot. I'm forgetting this. I'm understanding, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rhea's his girl, right?
I don't know. It is kinda.
I mean, isn't she technically?
You know,
Right? That's the
Facebook
whole
has
point
it's
of.
complicated. I think that would be quite fitting here.
You know, Jermaine Cole had a song about 15 years ago featuring Trey Songz, I believe. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Not the "Got Me Up All Night" one.
Nah, not well. That's what happened this weekend with Liv. But I heard you got a man.
Oh,
mistress
man.
that's you ain't up to no good, and everybody know. My best friend tried to warn me, and he tried to, right? Right? I'm telling you, man, the dudes that see the point, man. When the park closed, when he get off of them turnstiles, see, look. You know what? I'm gonna tell you something though.
Now,
I cannot wait for the day. There's one thing before you say that. There's one thing that I cannot wait for. I cannot wait for the day that either that mustache or that mullet goes, because one of them gotta go.
You know what though? When he grew those out as a character, right? When we think of Babyface, right? The custody battle of Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio. When he grew those two things out, his game elevated, both in ring and clearly outside of it.
I'll let you think that, but I'm gonna tell you something. Marco Antonio Barrera still look like he's 22. All right, that's a baby-faced assassin. Like bro, one of them gotta go. One of them, just one. I would prefer the mullet goes, because I think you can rock with. I mean, you can bring it to the shoulder length, and it's just something about it. Just looks like.
You said it yourself. The homage, it was intentional.
But yeah, but something about it looks like the section at Family Video that's behind the orange curtain. And when you come out of Family Video, you have the little brown envelope, but then you still got to go get the new release kids movies from Disney, Pixar, and get your popcorn. You follow what I'm saying? You see what I'm going here?
pH water over there too?
Hey, this man's got that alkaline. Okay.
Oh,
He got that alkaline.
what is happening?
Oh.
So, speaking of King Yeet main event, Jay says he hopes Rhea is single and ready to mingle.
Ooh.
He wants to holler at her and hit her with a yeet. Dom, of course, takes offense to this.
Oh,
Priest
really? He got
tells
some
him-
nerve.
Yep. Priest tells him he can't let Jay talk about Rhea like that. He needs to defend her honor. And so they will had a match later this evening. And Priest laughs that he just talked him into a match with Jay.
Priest is laughing that he just got Dom. So Priest is kind of like he gassing him up. He put that battery in his bag.
Yes.
Okay. And he's toying, like I said, he don't understand. He is a muse.
But what do you make of Priest stirring the pot?
I think it's really just something to have fun with, right? It's him just having fun at Dom's expense. You know, it's something to do. I mean, he don't see it for himself. Let me see how far this goes.
Speaking of seeing things for themselves, Chad Gable finally has cracked the code that Uncle Howdy is none other than Bo Dallas.
Oh, he figured it out finally.
To take it a step further, the Alpha Academy has said that they won't help Chad Gable, but they will help Xavier Woods against the Final Testament.
Whoa. Wow. Uh-oh.
Do you think good move, bad move for what do you make of this kind of help, both of you?
Go ahead, Mrs. Alva. The floor is yours. Maybe not. It's part of distance. Like he didn't treat him bad enough. So now you get to know what it's like. When the control you think you had over somebody, when you throwing your weight, your cruiserweight around, or when you throwing your cruiserweight around, I think you bossing somebody. You think you're giving people more opportunity than they've created for themselves. Things like this will happen. Because when you really need help, who's there for you? He about to find out. Xavier was about to find out, but Dark Gable's really about to find out. And this is not a good time to find that lesson out the hard way. We're dealing with the Wyatt Six. We just talked about it, a short while ago, about the impact of the Wyatt Six. So Chad's on his own.
Speaking of on their own, or lack thereof, Adam Pearce told security to take Braun Breaker out of the building after Breaker said he will take out Sami Zayn and Dragunov in the main event.
Wow. Why?
I think look, are you a little disappointed in the possibility, like the quality of the match, but then it potentially being wrecked in that manner? Like if that were to me, like we talk about Olympic style.
Yep.
And Sami Zayn, certainly, I would see him throw his name in the hat. I'll say that. And Dragunov, for me, I've said it since he kind of burst onto the scene, and certainly once he was drafted.
Okay.
I put a pretty high ceiling on him also.
Okay.
What do you think about them main eventing? And then don't you think that would be a quality kind of title shot and match as a whole?
You saying like
without the potential interference?
Yeah. I'm with it. I'm with it. I'm with that. What you said. Again, I feel like triple threat matches great to narrow down a contender, but a title is mano a mano unless it's a tag team title, which is mi familia y su familia, if you will. No, but I don't mind that. And yeah, and I would be disappointed in the idea of such a gimmick spoiler, because I don't even know why he would. To me, I don't see much. I don't see much there in him being suspended just by saying I'm gonna take care of my opponents in the match. Like, to me, it's reeking of desperation. Like you're trying to force the issue. You see what I mean?
We needed some heat. Okay, I'm gonna read this to you, and you tell me what you get. All right. I want to know potentially both of your guys' thoughts here. Here's what we have in this feud. This is Gunther to Priest. Let's be honest. Being on the street is a choice. Your parents were not able to give you a home because you were mediocre.
Oh.
Whatever you're going to achieve in life, you are and always will be street trash.
Whoa.
It kind of reminds me of Aladdin.
Oh.
The beginning part of Aladdin. When
Street Rat?
Yeah.
That one in the whole song?
Mm-hmm.
Now, Where's my Sega Genesis at?
I know.
No,
you know
I
what?
still
I had
got
that
it.
for SNES.
I
did.
still have it, bro. Like, we can fire it up right now.
That's true. Mine is in a pod somewhere. It is, and I believe it would still work as also. But dude, this
Well,
feud.
yeah, you see what's happening, right? Like, Priest is going to be the face of this feud. Gunther is the heel. What type of face needs a heel faction like Judgment Day? They don't. So this is part of the other like fractures, if you will, in the foundation, in the solid or solidified force that is or was Judgment Day.
Whoa. Say that again?
He's pushing, he called him a street rat.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Damian Priest's response is going to be, yeah, let me go get let's go take care of that? Or I'm going to do it myself because I'm trying to do this all by myself. You see what I'm saying? Like here, those words are almost specifically driven at removing or extracting Damian Priest from the Judgment Day.
Interesting. And, you know, strangely enough, I talked about some vibes a little earlier as it pertained to these guys.
Okay.
With what he said. Are you shooting on this? And for, again, people like you don't deserve to be champion. Again, Triple H to Booker T. And also what was quoted this evening was, and they were begging me to avoid people like you getting into the position to call themselves world heavyweight champion.
Yeah, we in this universe. Nothing what's old is new again. This was intentionally paralleled. You know, you have someone from the mountains of Caucasus speaking to someone from a more consistently warm temperature climate throughout the year. And we see how it played out. Tell me, what help did Booker T get?
Okay, but this is where it's interesting to me, right? Because if we want to shoot on Priest being a face, which I think works.
Yes.
And
that's a good angle that they're going, right?
It has to be, absolutely. I think he's been now written in that respect, kind of going forward. And certainly Gunther's take here only emphasizes that.
Yeah.
However, due to kind of this turn, if you remember, I thought for sure we had that blender going on, and his reign. We talked about how bad Cody's was.
Yeah.
Earlier. But I thought we had an expiration date
on
Priest as champion. With this turn, I actually think he very well could retain. Do you?
Yes, I do too. I think so. Maybe it's set up for them to have a grander match a little bit further down the line. So I trust Damian to defend successfully. Whereas I was actually looking forward to perhaps Gunther getting it, because I think that was his next step. You know, dropping the IC title that you've made a milestone on. That shouldn't be it shouldn't be a precursor of some pedestrian times. It should be, you know, dropping this to get rid of the weight, so that way I can hold up my brand new shiny belt and start a legacy defining run as world heavyweight champion.
Absolutely. And speaking of things of that nature, look at me when I'm talking to you, Adam Pierce, channeling certainly a maybe Nick Aldis.
Yeah.
He says to Drew McIntyre to apologize to the two referees who were hurt by his actions.
Huh.
Drew, of course, refuses, hammers and lays out the referees, goes off on Pierce. But look who's here. Seth Rollins comes out, and of course, Drew scampers. So is this merely Rollins as a placeholder for Punk, or is there more to this that I'm not quite following? Because Punk and Drew, they have the heat. Like, the heat is on. This is Miami, South Beach.
Right.
We didn't need a heat wave.
Nope. It's already hot enough.
Do you got anything as it pertains to this particular feud here that, you know, I mean, I would have been okay with maybe a Claymore to Pierce.
Right.
But instead, I'm seeing Drew acting like Punk.
Yeah.
And because, again, he's the one who's kind of instigating or starting all of this. And then, I don't know, it just feels like Drew's kind of deserving of what, you know, he's getting what he's putting out there in a way.
Right.
Can you try to quickly wrap your head around what is going on?
Right. Yeah. It's so confusing because in this case, superstars in question, they have like a legitimate bone to pick with the others in a way in which I haven't really ever seen that I could remember. But I still don't know what in the HE double hockey sticks is going on here. And what would be the conclusion?
You know, quite honestly, I really don't know either or what to make out of all of this. And so what I can quickly make out of is in other news is Priest was back in action.
Yep.
Again, non-title match, but he beat Braun Strowman clean. Of course, as you see here, Gunther then comes out and chops him. But then, as you see, also, you know, Priest got the better of him, standing tall in the end. Does that further emphasize the possibility that he may end up retaining this thing?
Yeah. I think Priest gonna retain. I think he will, because this creates a formidable foe for Priest as long as he holds on to the title. And then even after he doesn't hold on to the title, all right, if he does lose it, you know, he's got a feud there with a guy who on any given day of the week, it can be either or. And he and Damian Priest needs a heel in order to fully break himself from the Judgment Day.
Yeah, I can't disagree. And what we see here, Sheamus, who got a new song, new theme music.
They ain't help him out much.
Well, he did defeat Bronson Reed, but Reed was about to attack him, and Pete lays Reed out.
Whoa.
And then he turns and lays out Sheamus, clearly turning heel.
Yeah.
Which is just I guess another is the mid card running wild on us, brother?
Mid card, yeah, right. Yeah, Hogan, yeah, the mid card is running wild on, yeah. So it's not predictable, great, and it's it's a lot happening. I'm sort of here for it because, like, just look at Sheamus for example. Lacking this volatility in the mid card, what would he be doing right now? Shoehorning himself into the main event card?
Yeah, I mean that's a great point. And honestly, that's what I mean. I really don't know. Speaking of don't know, okay, what I'm going to tell you right now. So we had a return this evening.
Oh yeah,
and that, of course, was none other than Sonya Deville beating Zelina Vega with an assist, of course, as you see here from Shayna Baszler. And listen to this.
Okay.
Speaking of speed, 1 minute and 2 seconds.
The whole match.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
A year. It's been a year. And you get 1 minute on air. That's like Bro Rich coming back.
Yeah. They made it happen. Now, see, do you see the plausibility of this being in the Olympics?
On the women's side, I struggle with it only because of something like this.
Oh,
I get it, dude. Like, we've seen quick matches, but this just feels like, okay, they ran long. We're cutting you.
Okay. Got you.
And I think this is why the NXT product needs to be bigger than NXT. And it needs to continue that pathway, because that's just wrong to me. In a little bit of a faster fashion, or more, I guess, longer at least. Of course, Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark won against Katana Chance and Kaden Carter. They have a pretty sick double team finisher. I will give them that.
Yeah.
But again, a little bit. Again, that I brought up how that faction can be pretty significant. And take a look at the pose, though, because look what we have here, which was really the meat and potatoes of this evening's Raw. I mentioned the segment that had taken place earlier with Gable not getting help from his old friends.
Right.
But the Creed brothers decided to join Dark Gable, and they lured out Bo Dallas and ultimately laid him out in the process.
I mean, he sleep, boy. He got that. He's got that Motel 6. We'll leave the light on for you sleep. He is laid out. Boy.
And of course, coming to his aid was the Wyatt 6.
Yes. That is a look at that image, man. That top one.
It was sick. You should have seen even the spotlight looked like a portal.
Right.
I mean, it was rippling. It was interesting.
It is.
Out of any of the, again, you think of in history.
Okay.
I don't think I'd ever seen any of the spotlights look like that previously. So again, bravo to them. Getting to our final segment here was, of course, Sami Zayn versus Dragunov for the IC title. And to no surprise, Braun Breaker
There's
interferes.
no decision, right? To no surprise, there's no decision.
And also to no surprise, as you see here, he laid them both out.
Ooh, man, look at the image at top, though. Jeez, he had them folded over like a pretzel. bro, like Auntie Anne's. You know what I'm talking
Yep.
about? Right,
Fresh
right.
out of the mall with
Fresh
your
out of the
choice.
mall.
Now, were you
Yes.
more of a salt and cup of cheese guy or the cinnamon guy?
I don't know, but I just know
Salt
I
and
don't want to
cheese
be.
all the way.
Say again.
Salt and cheese all the way.
All the time?
Yes.
Oh, come on. Gotta live a little. What?
Or,
all the time?
Or there is the pepperoni Auntie Anne's too.
There is the pepperoni Auntie Anne's. Yes.
Yes.
That
and
concoction.
that one is if you're rich, you can get that one.
Well, yeah. All right. Yeah. You got a point.
I can't say I've had that. That's for sure. However, are you liking the storylines here? Where are we, especially as it pertains to this one? I mean, yes, it sounds like we're destined for a triple threat out of the group, but just final thoughts on the storylines as a whole as SummerSlam in Cleveland nears ever closer. We'll start with you, Mrs. A.
All right, Mrs. A. The floor is yours.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Are you Jesse Spano excited?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Oh boy, I mean, she's scared. Hey, listen, yo, pull out the 90s reference, right?
Yes. I have the scene in my head right now. Actually.
Right. If it's my
meanwhile
turn,
at the max.
Yeah, meanwhile at the max, right? Milo Max or which Max?
Well, remember the restaurant.
I know, no, I'm saying Milo's. Oh no, Milo wasn't at the Max. Milo was in the office. Oh, I was thinking something else. Anyway, I like some of them. Right, I like some of them. It's telling enough where some of it is centered around the action, right? Like Braun Breaker, like his breakthrough that we know is coming, we sense it's coming, it should be here. I like this one. Again, it's helping me earn more respect for Sami Zayn, but still Braun Breaker. Eventually, he got a breakthrough. So, yeah, I'm all right with many of the storylines. The exceptions being Cody Rhodes and Dominic's.
I don't disagree. Actually, as much as I am not a fan of Dominic, I do. The storyline could get better.
Yeah. What are we trying to tell me? Like he a playboy and these.
The writers could do a little work.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what. It again. In the end, we are watching professional wrestling.
True.
So when I say that, make it pay off in the ring, Dominic.
Okay.
That's
I see where you're going.
Yeah. So if it ends up having a decent match behind all of this, then all right, cool. Because in the end, that's what we're watching for. You know what I'm saying? If I want a soap opera, I can go to many different networks, or I can go to certain social media platforms and just hang out in the chat rooms and just wait for the dynamite to enter the room and then just set it off. Right? I can do that. You know what I'm saying?
Why do I see Gully with a bowl of popcorn just scrolling through Facebook?
Oh, I have. Oh my goodness. There's one platform that I forgot that my debit card had expired for like Netflix, but I was so entertained on this other app, I didn't even care. I didn't cancel like 2 or 3 streaming platforms just because of this app, because of the drama that goes in there. You know, these are all entities, right? They're not real in terms of really knowing me in that way. So it's like watching TV or reality TV. That being said, it's gonna pay off in the ring. we talk about custody. All right, think about it like this: the custody of Dominic match. Who was in that match?
Rey Mysterio
and who else?
Eddie Guerrero.
All the shenanigans aside, right? When you get to the match, what's what?
It was quality. I felt we did get a piece of that today. Of course, Liv came out, and of course, as you see, main event Jay delivered.
Oh.
And then, of course, just to close the evening, Mami then states to Dom that I don't belong to anybody. I am not yours. You are mine.
Whoa. And look at what he said. Look, he didn't even hear what she said.
I leave you both with.
He didn't listen to what he heard what she said, but he ain't listened to what she was saying.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. But apparently it wasn't what you said, it was how you said it. In that case.
Oh, okay.
So again, final thoughts from me quickly that just I'm okay with, like you both, with the certain storylines. I'm shooting more on Dom's ability, and it seems like, right or wrong, it also elevated main event Jay a little bit more in his push for success, because I didn't see anything that looked out of the ordinary or terrible if by any stretch of the imagination during that particular match. So again,
it comes at an interesting time though, right? I mean, what did we bring up about whose comments did we start the show off with?
Oh, on the heels of Rikishi's comments, not just ours.
Yeah, on the heels of it, right? We see somebody sound like Rikishi has a point. I think it sounds like Rikishi has a point, and he also has some flexibility here.
Interesting. Again, with the Braun Breaker thing, I would like to see him go a little bit of a slightly different direction. The Wyatt 6 stuff is definitely now clearly progressing. I didn't think I would see Dark Gable. I thought, again, I was very adamant about him being wasted. Him with this particular group should be interesting, because clearly, they took the fight to the Wyatt 6. I wasn't actually anticipating that. So that is it from my end. And any final thoughts from either of you?
We are a couple of weeks away from SummerSlam. If you like the card, how? And if you don't like it, what would you like to see changed? I can tell you one match I want to see changed. And it's for a title that was universally recognized for a while.
Go on.
All I'm saying is just that thing. Just idolize, please, man. Just give us something, make it worthwhile for Cody. And if he drops that belt, it better be to
David Arquette.
You know what? Let's get out.
It's been fun, but we have to run. Of course, we will be returning potentially Saturday with who knows? I may or may not be in Toledo. And so otherwise, of course, you could catch us on all of your favorite platforms. Please like and subscribe and follow
the YouTube, the Instagram, the X, the
LinkedIn
Twitch.
Even. Yeah, Twitch as well. Yeah, LinkedIn, all the above.
And the LinkedIn. Yep. Even I forgot the name of it.
Well, with that being said, again, we will be returning live on Saturday, as always, talking potentially whatever.
Yes.
From the sounds of it, we get creative control on Saturday.
Creative Control Saturdays. Like it. Let's book it.
Awesome. So again, from myself, Barbershop J, of course.
Mrs. A with the clutch coming in. Thank you very much for the tag.
What you mean, Gully, and all of you that follow and support us, we say thank you. And of course, if you want to know what's really going on,
next time you really want to know what's going on, come to the shop. Walk-ins are always welcome.
Holla.